All right, everyone. So today we have Jillian on the call, and today we just want to get to know Jillian a little bit better and understand her story and just, yeah, get to know who she is, why she started, where you can find her, and what her new projects that are coming up. So my first question for you, Jillian, is who are you? How did you start fitness? Where do you want to take fitness? Just tell us your story.
Sure. So thanks for having me on.
Mhm.
I started when I was pretty young. Well, I guess late teens. It's considerably young. I was super unhealthy, out of shape, overweight. I was pre-diabetic. I would get hypoglycemic and literally just like pass out, hit the floor. So um, in one of those pass out events, I just like had this self-realization, like I don't have to live this way, and so I kind of took it upon myself to start researching all these different like dietary protocols and what would be most beneficial for someone with that background. So I pretty much did every diet out there, like you name it, I've probably done it. And it definitely helped me like overcome, you know, becoming diabetic. I didn't want to go down that path, that was for sure. But I think it definitely created some metabolic dysfunction for myself. So, meaning like a lot of dietary approaches out there will just essentially ask you to go into major deficits, and you can get away with that initially and it'll work for you maybe like the first few times, handful of times, but you continue doing that and then your metabolism kind of stops working for you. So that's kind of what happened. Like I got healthier, but then I also got unhealthy again in that way. And so that is when I found, um, I began working with Jason in the Nutritional Coaching Institute, and he helps me understand better that like there is no one like best dietary protocol. It's all relative to your exercise, your training age, of course, your health, your background, and all of those things, and just finding what approach is appropriate relative to where you're at to move you forward. So, um, I come from a background of like being super unhealthy, kind of got a little bit healthier, and then began to create some metabolic dysfunction for myself and needed help to work through that as an athlete, because I was also trying to compete in CrossFit. So that is like very short form of my background story.
Yeah,
What
no, that
question?
like that's something that a lot of people need to hear because they can definitely relate with that. And I appreciate you being really honest with everyone and myself, even because I know how hard it can be sometimes to tell your story and to articulate it in a way to try to relate to other people. So I really appreciate that. My next question, though, for you is what clicked for you? Why did fitness influence you in a way that you wanted to make a big change and help others?
Um, there's a lot of reasons. So I had been through a lot of struggle with it myself. I kind of did like the yo-yoing thing because I would try these different diet approaches, see success initially, and then I would quickly plateau, right? It's like all too familiar. So the more that I learned and the more that I was able to work through those sort of plateaus, it just like that's, I guess, to answer your question, when it began to click and I wanted to like, it's my mission now to help people not have to go through that. Like I've been there, done that, and you don't have to go through it alone. I was too embarrassed initially to hire a coach. Like I didn't want to be seen in the gym. I didn't want people to look at me while I was working out. Like the whole idea just was like mortifying to me. So I want to be able to help those people, as well as like obviously I compete today, and that's kind of like, I would say, my niche per se, but you know, that I feel like that's very relatable across the board for a lot of people.
Yeah, and like you were mentioning about the yo-yo, a lot of people have done that and a lot of people have gone through that. And for someone to have that experience, then now be able to help people with it is awesome. And that's kind of how we are going to make a difference in this industry, and that's awesome that you're taking that approach and wanting to make a difference in that aspect. Um, Going further on to your projects or stuff, things that you have that you're working on right now, is there anything specific that you're trying to do that you want to achieve? Like, what's your long term vision when it comes down to your business or how you want to be as a coach?
Yeah, so I know it sounds kind of crazy. I still think it sounds crazy, but I always encourage people that if your goals scare you, you're probably doing the right thing. So I want to have an impact on like a million plus individuals relative to helping them not have to go through those struggles that I went through. And so something that I've been working on is building out a program that I actually launched the first of this month, and so far so good. It's going really well. Really awesome feedback. But essentially, teaching people how to first get rid of inflammation in the body, and then usually that sort of bridges the gap between like where they are and where they want to go. Not 100% of the time, but majority of the time in my experience, sort of using almost like an elimination protocol to an extent, and everybody's different with that. So some people have a little more like severe issues than others, and so we use a questionnaire to determine like which which approach within that elimination protocol is appropriate for the individual. So you say elimination and it drives a lot of people away. They know they can't have a lot of things that they like to have. So that is not the goal to take everything away and just to restrict individuals. It's just to teach them to pinpoint like what food items might be triggering an inflammation response internally so that we can heal that internally and then begin to see the process, or I'm sorry, the progress that they desire relative to their goals. So um, yeah, I spend the initial phase of it is just sort of like the prep phase, the questionnaire, building awareness around their, not just their diet, but their lifestyle, like their entire lifestyle: sleep, food, stress, exercise, all of those things. So building the awareness first, using those questionnaires to pinpoint any issues that might be present, and then helping them work through those, and then teaching them how to like reintroduce things into their diet so that they don't feel restricted and they don't feel limited in the future. Sort of like breaking that diet addiction or that diet mentality. And sure, we use the protocol in the initial phase, but it's more so like you said, healing, and then we can build frameworks around where they want to go within that protocol so that they don't feel restricted in their everyday living coming out of the program. So that's kind of, in summary, what we focus on with that. So yeah,
That's awesome. That's so like that's like super creative and like very innovative, and I love to hear that you're taking a direction on really just making sure that the person feels like they're actually valued and they get understood, and it's not just some cookie cutter kind of program. It's actually based on their goals and their lifestyle, because a lot of times in this industry it's very like what can we give someone quick so then we can make that quick buck instead of trying to actually help the person long term. So I think what you're doing is awesome.
thank you.
Yeah. Where can people find you? Where can they, do you have a website, social media? What's your platforms? Do you have any groups that people can join? Like, where can they find Jillian?
Sure. So right now, I have just started with the private groups on Facebook for those specific programs, but those will sort of filter into another group. So they can find me on Facebook. It's just my name, Jillian Lee Smith. The Lee is spelled funny. It's Leigh. Smith is pretty basic. And then Instagram is Jillian Lee underscore nutrition. And then website is just jillianleesmith.com.
Awesome. Well, I will make sure to put that in the video and for people to find that. Do you have any final words or anything that you want to end off with and share with everyone?
Oh, that's a good question. Put me on the spot. I don't know. I guess so. There's just constantly things thrown in our faces in the media. Obviously, a lot going on in the world today, and um, there's never a good time. You pull out the calendar and you take a look every single month. There's something going on that makes it like not a good fit or not a good time to focus on yourself. And so when you have that understanding, it becomes easy to want to take action on like bettering yourself. So if you're not bettering yourself for everybody else around you, then you're always trying to pour from an empty cup and you're never going to be able to serve people the way that you want to, with that being said. So um, right now might not be the most ideal time, but there's never an ideal time. And so I say just go all in on yourself. Just do it.
Ah, that's awesome. I love to hear that because that's so true. And I think when it comes down to it, people have to make that step and take that step towards achieving what they want. So that's awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time to hop on here and share your story.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no worries. We'll talk soon, and thanks for listening, everyone. Have a great day.